So Tim says, great answer, and thanks for the kind words. Close Factor and Modigi, both awesome up-and-comers that CROs should have on their radars. All right, thanks for that. Thanks, Tim. So from Joe O'Malley, we have, what's the best way to manage the ICP issue as a BDR at a company with that type of environment where ownership can sometimes be sporadic? And I guess you could probably add in that, probably the identification of the ICP is probably sporadic and changes, and they may not be that prescriptive.
All right, this is going to sound like a total plant for the company I'm advising, but if you look at the RevOps stack, and we actually on your site, we've published how you look at a RevOps stack. There is nobody. You have LinkedIn, that's a standard. You have Zoom Info, those are standards. Outreach, maybe Sales Loft, those are standards for a BDR today. There is nothing that helps a BDR or an AE prioritize the ICP. What are the accounts I should be calling on now? You need the right account, the right person to talk to, the right message at the right time. And the best folks are doing it on spreadsheets. Close Factor, actually, a bunch of LinkedIn folks. Turns out that's really expert data. And job boards are scraping all that, and they're scraping all the 10 Qs so that you can look at all your technographic data. You can look at all your accounts. Maybe I want to call on GCP users today or Amazon users tomorrow. Maybe I got to call on these different personas. It's the only thing I've seen. It's why I'm all in to really scale ICP execution to the BDR and AE, which is the only place that you can foot it to really know if your ICP is actually working or not.
Yeah, and great answer, Mark. And then Joe, great question. Another way to look at it would be say, okay, who's selling a lot and what are they selling to? So a couple of examples would be, okay, if big Wall Street financials, they just did a deal with Goldman Sachs. Okay, go knock on the doors of others, so that it may or may not be your territory. So obviously you got to figure out how you can get the territory. Another one would be maybe if it's, I'll say, restaurant chains. Maybe there's some software things that you have for restaurant chains. So if you see that it works there, because you certainly have so many different industries, so many geographies, so many different sizes, and then don't underestimate the value of reference selling as well. So for places where you've sold things before, or maybe your peers that are in the pit with you, hopefully there's some face-to-face that's going on. Say, hey, ask, hey, everybody, let's have everybody ask, for any referrals that they have, any friends at similar companies. And obviously people want to be selfish to get referrals into companies that they can cover, but also nothing wrong with getting referrals to other companies. When I was at EMC and opened up the UK office in New York City, Andy O'Brien and Tom Heiser became my best friends because they were selling into banks there in New York. And I'd say, hey, I ask who their people are in London, which sounds like a real basic thing. But what a fantastic entree. Could say, hey, we're selling to Joe and Susie and Sally in New York. They said we should be talking to you. Okay, great. Roll out the red carpet. Much easier sales cycle than doing cold calling. You agree, I assume?
I do. I'm going to hit you with a crazy concept. I'm actually leading a CRO search for a great PLG company. I'm doing an advisory for 80 million in ARR with less than $800K average order, $800 average order size. Imagine that velocity. And so we're looking for a PLG leader, and I've engaged 2 boutique retained search firms, and I wrote the spec for the founders to really get the right person. And they're 4 founders from MIT. They really work great together, and they're in the office every day because they're efficient, unlike that. And I told each one of the recruiters, hey, if you can meet these folks in person, it's going to be a real advantage. And neither one did. And I guarantee the one that would have gone on site to meet the CEO and the founders would have won the business.
Oh, totally.
And like, you're not even thinking about that anymore. Is the press the flesh, the in-person meeting is so valuable, especially for strategic decisions, right? Anyway.
Absolutely. So speaking about PLG, so in this year, so according to Mark Zuckerberg, in this year of efficiency, you've got plenty of ideas on how to drive teamwork and efficiency. What about getting leverage?
Yeah. So that's something a CRO has got to be looking at all the time is play chess, not checkers, a couple of quarters ahead, because these are the things that take a lot of long-term planning. So PLG, it's sales serve versus self-serve. And if you can build a self-serve business model, that's fantastic. But maybe you didn't start off that way. Maybe it's a sales serve type of business. As a CRO, you need to be looking for that PLG opportunity. Maybe it's a defeatured product that you can sell, or maybe you're in enterprise and mid-market and you could defeature the product. And you can simplify it to serve SMB. And for all revenue could be really good revenue from that standpoint. So I think you need to think about it as a CRO. What are all my levers, right? So often sales leaders do whatever go-to-market they were good at, and you create sales debt along the way. You need to be thinking about efficiency that we talked about, but leverage, and two forms of leverage really is PLG. Where is that? And the irony right now is a lot of the PLG companies are trying to also get good at outreach and do sales serve because, oh my gosh, the PLG motion is slowing down. What do I do now? So that PLG motion, I think you don't want to be pure. You're probably want to optimize for your ICP, sales serve and self serve. And with this company I'm working with right now, that's 80 million, 80% of that is self-serve. What an amazing model. But don't just sub-optimize for the self-serve. You need both those pieces.
It's interesting to think about now with all this AI and ChatGPT, everything else, if especially at that lower level, inside seller, if you do you think companies will actually get rid of inside sales reps?
I don't think so, but I just think the nature of the work will change, right? And if everybody's got the same ChatGPT read on a particular topic, what are you going to do to break through? Is still going to be the differentiator, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So channel certainly big topic as well. So a bunch of things that come into play there. What's your take on making sure the solution can be predictably sold by your own sellers first?
Yeah, I think that's number one. Is I think CEOs will always be looking at with the CRO. Hey, what about a channel motion? When's the right time to do it? And a CRO really needs to invest way ahead of when you're going to get predictable revenue. It always works in Excel, but it takes longer in the wild to get a channel motion going. So that is really, Randy, you're on it. That's the first thing to know is, well, am I predictably selling my solution today with my own sellers? Because no channel is really going to meaningfully take on that solution unless they see the breadcrumbs of how they would be able to sell it really predictably. So sometimes people might say, well, I'll just have the channel sell it. And, you've got to first solve that repeatability to really get into a channel. So once you're starting to see that repeatability, then play chess with, all right, what would be good alliance partners? Where are customers buying this? What's their buying patterns so we can align the right sales strategy through channels.
And then I would say they have to get paid and have good margin, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. If it's a repeatable sales motion, okay, good. I'm interested as a channel partner, but what's the return on invested capital going to be? Is it predictable margins? Is the street price pretty consistent? Am I going to get 20 plus gross margin on resale, as an example? That calculus has got to work. Otherwise, you're going to get a head fake. The channel partner might say they'll sell it on their dance card, but they won't dedicate resources to it.
And then making sure the rules of engagement are straightforward, right? If I'm a channel partner and I'm worried about your sales team taking a deal direct that I bring. I mean, that's taboo.
Yeah, it really is. This is, you got to dance with the one that brung you. So if they gave you the lead, you can't cut them out. Even, and the customer would be, hey, what if I bought it directly? No. And if you want to put a measure to it, you can't be 50-50 on channels. You got to take 80. If you're going to really get the leverage, you got to lean into 85% plus of your motion being through channels, not 50-50. That'll never work.
Yeah. Well, the other side of it is, I guess you could identify different niches, right? So a lot of companies may do direct into the largest global accounts, and they may have an SMB motion, which is through the channel, or they might say, hey, we're going to be US centric here, but then we're going to be channel only in EMEA and APJ. So there's also, I think, a lot of variations on the theme, right?
Well, you are a channel expert, a sophisticate of channels, and that is exactly right.
Thank you. And then what about incentives needing to be aligned?
Oh my gosh, you don't foot this down, it ain't going to work. So I'm also writing comp plans a lot for my the companies I'm working with. Quota, comp, all work together. And you want to design these things in for scale as well. So one thing that we're doing is, I see early stage reps are like, well, it ought to be comp neutral to work with a channel. Okay, show me comp neutral in a comp plan, and I'll show you your quota is actually larger. Versus, the incentive ought to be for an AE is if it goes through the channel, you're going to get more deals. You ought to be paid on what the net proceeds are to the company. And that is, so if it's a 100K deal, 20K goes to the reseller partner, you get 80K of ARR, and you're paid on that. And the get is I'm going to get into a lot more deals, and I'm going to learn a lot more working with a channel partner.
Right. They don't, I mean, through all the years, I have violent agreement with what you just said, but that common sense does not prevail. Oh. Look at it per deal, and I've never been able to figure it out. And then I just will roll over and just say, okay, forget about it. We're going to do comp neutral because we got to drive the right behavior.
No. So you know how you solve for that? I finally figured it out. It's part of your interview process with the AE. You find out, does the rep stand in front of the channel, building the business, using it as a tool to build their business, or are they sitting behind the channel looking for leads? Hire for that.
Yeah, but they can easily give an answer. So here's one on the comp plan side. So before you said something about earlier on here about reps not being paid until kind of some level of kind of customer success. So you obviously have key points where you can get sold on the booking, on the revenue, and then it sounds like you might be suggesting a later piece in the cycle.
Nope. I'd say you pay in the booking. But in Salesforce, you can't close out the close one in the companies I work with until value one is
there you go
vetted.
Okay, great. And then quickly here, because we're out of time, what about when's the right time to build a channel?
After you have a repeatable motion, you're dedicated to the right kind of return on investment for the channel partner, and you got your incentives aligned. I wouldn't do it before that. Yep.
Awesome. But a lot of times too, though, you also have the channel partners who have some key relationships that can help you early on. Yeah. So if you've got some trusted relationships, you can say, look, we're still baking this out, but if you work with us early on, you can maybe get some special access or some other things that come into play.
Yeah, we talked a lot about channels, but alliances too is, what is your customer need? You got me. What does your user need to implement your solution? If there's gaps in that and there's other technologies, that's a great alliance partner to go focus on as well. Sell with as well as sell to.
Awesome. Very cool. So, Mark, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. Tucker was kind enough to post the blogs. Blog number 3 is the one that is relevant to what we're talking about today. And you can get a preview, I guess, to blog number 4 by seeing that there. So thanks. And your wisdom is amazing, and your thoughtfulness is always great. So next week on Monday, we've got the legendary Tom Mendoza, who had been at NetApp as an early sales leader, then eventually vice chairman. He's on the boards of a bunch of companies like Bronis, Vast Data, UiPath, that other Catholic school that's in South Bend. Their business schools is named after him, and he's amazing in all areas, but especially around culture and leadership. And we're doing it on a Monday because I anticipate our usual Wednesday that hopefully Alabama will be in the SEC baseball tournament. So tried to de-risk me having to change around, especially with somebody like Tom. And thanks to Modigi for sponsoring today. And for those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. And for those that are not, feel free to check us out at salescommunity.com, and you can click on the link Spring Free. So Tucker, also thanks for your help behind the scenes. Mark, you're awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Randy, for having me. And all you go-to-market teams, you need to hang together, or as Ben Franklin said, you're going to hang separately.